You pick up your phone to check one thing. You don't really decide to. Your hand just goes. One quick look, and then you surface again, and somehow 20 minutes are gone. You couldn't say what you saw. You're not even sure why you're still holding it. But your thumb is already moving, dragging the screen back down, asking it for one more. You did this as a kid with the first screen you ever held. You did it as a teenager, under the desk in class. You're doing it now, as an adult with serious things to do. The same small reach, the same small pull, your whole life. And you have almost never stopped to ask why. So let's ask. In one study that tracked 94 people's phones for a few days, the average user tapped, swiped, and typed more than 2,600 times a day. The heaviest? More than 5,000. That is not a string of decisions. It's a reflex. And here is the strange part. You are not weak. You are not foolish. You have walked away from far harder things than a glowing rectangle. So why does this one flat sheet of glass quietly beat you every day? Most people have an easy answer ready. They'll tell you that you have no self-control, that you're hooked on your phone, that you should just put it down. But that answer points the finger in exactly the wrong direction, because the problem was never really you. The problem is that the thing in your hand was built, carefully, deliberately, by some of the smartest people alive, to be almost impossible to put down. You are not losing a fight against a screen. You are losing a fight against a room full of engineers who designed that screen to win. To understand how they win, look at a machine that has beaten human willpower for 100 years, a slot machine. A former Google design ethicist named Tristan Harris once put it plainly. Several billion people, he wrote, now carry a slot machine in their pocket. Every time you pull the screen down to refresh, you are pulling a lever and waiting to see what it gives you. Sometimes nothing, sometimes something good. You never know which is coming. That gesture, pull down to refresh, was invented by a single designer, Lauren Brichter, for an early Twitter app back in 2009. Years later, he admitted something uncomfortable about it. Pull to refresh, he said, is addictive. He built the lever. Then he watched it work on everyone, himself included. But why does a lever like that work so well? For that, we have to go back to a psychologist named B.F. Skinner. Skinner spent his life studying how rewards shape behavior. He put animals in a box with a lever and changed just one thing, the pattern of the payoff. When the reward came every single time the lever was pressed, the animal worked calmly, predictably, pressing when it was hungry, stopping when it was full. But then Skinner made the reward unpredictable. Now the lever paid off after a random number of presses, and you could never tell which press would win. The behavior changed completely. The animal pressed faster, harder, and far longer, and kept pressing long after the rewards had dried up. That single change, from a steady reward to a random one, produces the most relentless, hardest-to-stop behavior in the entire science of habit. It even has a name, a variable ratio schedule, and it is exactly, precisely, how your feed works. Think about it. Most of what you scroll past is boring, forgettable, but every so often, there it is, the joke that lands, the photo you needed to see, the clip that is somehow perfect. You never know which swipe pays out, so you keep pulling the lever, just like the animal in the box, just like the gambler at the machine, the same ancient trick on a smaller, brighter screen. But here is where it goes deeper than slot machines and stranger than you would ever guess, because it isn't really the reward that hooks you, it's the maybe. For a long time, people assumed your brain releases dopamine when something good happens, that dopamine is simply the chemical of pleasure. A neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz spent decades showing that this is not quite right. He recorded directly from dopamine neurons and found that most barely fire when you get a reward you fully expected. They fire when something is better than expected, a surprise. And once a reward becomes predictable, the signal goes quiet and slides backward in time onto whatever predicts it. Dopamine, it turns out, is not the feeling of getting. It is the signal of anticipating. And then came the detail that explains your thumb. In a study by Schultz and his colleagues, the dopamine signal climbed highest not when a reward was certain, and not when it was hopeless, but when the odds sat right in the middle, 50-50, a coin flip. The researchers read it as the brain reacting to the uncertainty itself. The strongest pull came at the moment of maximum maybe. Sit with that, because it is the whole secret. The most powerful moment is not the reward. It is the instant just before it, The half second the page is loading, the little breath before the feed refreshes, when it could still be anything at all. That suspense is the product. That flicker of not knowing is what you are actually buying with your time. Another pair of researchers, Kent and Terry Robinson, drew the line even sharper. They showed that the brain's wanting and its liking are two separate systems. Dopamine drives the wanting, the reaching, the pursuit, but it is not what makes a thing enjoyable once you finally have it, which means you can be gripped by a powerful urge to want something you do not actually like. And if you have ever scrolled for an hour, felt a little worse, and kept going anyway, you have already met that gap inside your own head. You were not having fun. You were hunting. None of this is an accident, and none of it is a secret. An anthropologist named Natasha Dow Schull spent years inside Las Vegas, studying how slot machines are designed. She found the machines were engineered toward one single goal, not to make you win, but to maximize what the industry coldly calls time on device, to keep you sitting there. And she described how players slip into what she called the machine zone, a trance where the clock, the money, the room, even the sense of yourself dissolve, until nothing is left but the next press. Now think about the last time you looked up from your feed, blinked, and genuinely didn't know where the time had gone. That is the same zone. The feed is not trying to make you happy, it is trying to keep you there. And it has one trick the old slot machine never had. A designer named Nir Eyal mapped it out in a book for the people who build these products. He called it the hook. It runs in 4 steps. First, a trigger, a buzz, a notification, a flicker of boredom, then an action. You open, you swipe. Then a variable reward, the maybe, the payout you cannot predict. And then the clever part, investment. You like, you post, you comment, you put a little piece of yourself in, and that tiny deposit quietly loads the next trigger and aims it right back at you, around and around and around. A loop that pulls a little tighter every single time you touch it. So no, you cannot simply try harder. You are one tired person, with a thin sliver of willpower at the end of a long day, going up against a machine built by teams of engineers, tested on billions of people, tuned to keep your particular thumb moving. You will not win that fight head-on. Nobody does. But here's the good news. You do not have to fight the machine. You can change it. You can switch off the random payouts at the source, turn off the notifications so the lever stops tapping you on the shoulder all day. You can add friction where they worked to remove it, log out, so there is a small wall between the urge and the feed. You can trade the maybe for a when. Decide you will check at a set time, on purpose, instead of every time your hand gets restless. None of this is about gritting your teeth. It is about quietly moving the lever out of reach. So here is something to try, just once. The next time you feel that little pull, the hand drifting toward the phone, the urge to refresh, don't fight it and don't obey it. Just wait, 10 slow seconds, and watch what your own hand tries to do without you. Because you are not the only one doing this, right now. Pull back and picture it. Millions of people, this very second, thumbs moving in the same small arc, answering the same small pull, every one of them certain it was their own idea. It was never a flaw in you. It was a lever, designed to be pulled, and placed gently in your pocket. And now, you can finally see it. So the only question left is the one nobody ever designed an answer for. Now that you know the lever is there, how long before you reach for it again?